Hi, I'm Jürgen Appelo, author of the book Management 3.0, Leading Agile Developers Developing Agile Leaders. That's this book. It was released in January 2011, and today I'm here to answer a few questions from my followers on Twitter. The first question is from Eve. He asks, what is the elevator pitch for the book? Well, that's easy. For 10 years, Agile software development has ignored management, and that is basically the reason why managers have been ignoring Agile. And it is very important that managers understand what their role is in an Agile organization, because management is the biggest obstacle in Agile transformations and adoption around the world. So we have to explain to managers what they should be doing to support and facilitate self-organizing teams in an Agile setting. And then Iris asks, why do you call Management 3.0 still management? Well, we call software developers still software developers. The introduction of Agile in an organization doesn't necessarily change people's job titles. However, it does change the way people do their work. And the work for software developers has changed since the introduction of Agile. And likewise, the work for managers will have to change when they work in an Agile organization. And then a question from Kjell. He asks, why is your book different from other management books? Well, I think it is one of the first that goes beyond giving some advice from an experienced manager who happens to have one great insight and then sells it to everyone. My book taps into complexity science and systems theories, and I think we can learn a lot from how other kinds of systems, how other complex systems are managed. And we can apply those theories and those ideas to software development to come up with innovative and brand new ways of managing teams. And then Olaf asks me to explain the difference between management and leadership. Well, management is a job and leadership is a role. Anybody in the organization can be a leader of other people, but this book is about management, and management involves leadership and governance. And sometimes managers have to be leaders, sometimes they have to be governors or rulers. Usually they have to be a bit of both. The next question is from Rob. Rob asks me, what is the best metaphor in the book? I use a lot of metaphors because it makes my thinking a bit clearer for myself and for others. And one of the most useful ones, I think, is the gardening metaphor. I like to compare managers to gardeners. They have to make sure that the soil is fertilized, that there are fences around the garden, that there is an influx of energy, and that some plants are separated from others, etc., etc. But then in the end, the growing has to be done by the plants and the flowers themselves. It doesn't make much sense to shout to the flowers, grow, grow, grow. They have to do it by themselves. So management is about creating the right conditions, and then let self-organization take care of itself. The sixth question is from Ellen. She asks, is this book useful for people outside of software development? I think it is. A few reviewers pointed out that you can basically ignore the references to software development because it is just a common sense management book. So anybody interested in the job of a manager in an organization that is about creativity and creating innovative products will find this book useful. They will just have to ignore the few references that there are to software development practices. The next question is by Ranish. He asked me, what kind of audience did you have in mind when you were writing the book? Well, that's an easy question because I had in mind anybody in a management position between the software team, the self-organizing team, and upper management. So those could be team leaders, development managers, just basically anybody in a middle management position. Then question number 8 is by Vashko. He asks me, why is my book relevant? Because I don't even have an MBA. Well, I read that the greatest advancements in science have been achieved when the ideas and concepts from one field were adopted by another field. Like, for example, biologists applying their thinking to economy, or economists applying their thinking to physics. And this is how great achievements have been made in science. Likewise, I think that management can be advanced significantly by looking elsewhere outside of traditional management schools. And I believe we have to look at complex systems theory. We have to look at how other systems other complex systems are managed, and try and apply those ideas to management either in software organizations or elsewhere. And then a great question by Ken. He asks me, what do you see emerging from your research into complexity? Well, one thing that I understand now is that a business is a social system or a social network comprising many different stakeholders. So you not only have customers, you also have suppliers, shareholders, managers, employees, the local community, etc., etc. And they are all stakeholders in this complex system that we call a social network. And they all want to have value out of that system. So it's not only customers that are trying to get value out of that system, there are many different stakeholders. And so we are looking at a value network instead of just a value stream. And that is something that has been picked up recently by other people in software development world. And I think we have to reconsider a number of practices that are geared towards customer value, because there's more than just customer value. Last but not least, a question by Jens. He asked me, will there ever be a chapter called A Day in the Life of the Agile Manager? At one point I thought I would write such a chapter, but unfortunately time was up. I had to deliver my work to the publisher, and this chapter was skipped. So perhaps in another book, I do intend to write a book sometime about the life of the Agile Manager, but I have no idea whatsoever when that book will be published. First we'll have to see that this book is doing well enough so that I have the opportunity to write another one.